The last few years, I'm constantly on the lookout for more games to play, and for here on the channel, more fun shooters that you may also enjoy that we can share together. One that I was really looking forward to playing again since I missed the last playtest, but got to play earlier last year, was Splitgate 2, a free-to-play shooter that combines elements and feelings of classic games like a Halo or a Portal, all meshed into one in that faster-paced arcade-style action. The team over at Splitgate actually had reached out recently and asked if I wanted to partner up and share with you what's new and what's included, and having already planned a video on this weeks ago on my content calendar to jump in, figured why not? Seems like a nice fit. So thanks to the team over at Splitgate for sponsoring this video, but the Splitgate open beta is live now. That's the biggest thing here. It's free to play on all major platforms. You got a PlayStation 4 or 5, you can play it. You got an Xbox One, Series X or S, you can play it. You got a PC, you can play it on either Steam or on Epic Games. You got a Steam Deck? Yeah, you can play it there too. Crossplay is available here with this, and of course on all those different platforms. So if at any point this looks interesting to you, or you just want something to try out that's new, fast-paced, and an interesting spin on the shooter genre, make sure to check out the Splitgate 2 open beta. There's a link at the top of the description that will take you exactly where you need to go, regardless of platform. But okay, we like to cover everything in depth here on what you get out of the experience here, so what's included with the open beta? As for content, starting with your basic sort of loadout here, in the beta you have access to 3 player types or factions: Eros, Meridian, and Sabrask. If you've played the earlier playtests, these are the same. Eros has access to Rush, a speed boost to movement, reload, and regen delay, as well as Taskmaster for faster ability cooldown for you and your teammates. Meridian has Hypersight, which briefly reveals enemies through walls for you and your teammates, as well as Wellness, which is faster health regen for you and your teammates. Super beneficial for both those, I think. And Sabrask has a Smart Wall, which is a barrier shield that you can shoot through, but your enemies cannot, as well as Fortitude, which recharges your equipment faster for you and your teammates. Each of these different factions come along with a variable set of abilities, but also a variable set of a rifle, carbine, shotgun, burst rifle, and SMG as primaries to play with, each different but also similar enough that you're not really at a disadvantage by playing one faction over the other when it comes to class selection, and also a semi-auto, heavy, and burst pistol as secondaries to choose from, with specific to weapon class, yet generic across faction and class weapon attachments that can come along with each of those. Now, what's different for weaponry and such now as opposed to in prior builds and playtests is that because we're in open beta and we are close to the 1.0 launch here, is you now have skins that you can either earn, buy, but also all of which equip, either through your customization options for the weapons and whatever you're trying to do, or in your locker, you now have centralized locations for these different cosmetics, which is nice. From here, you can end up changing weapon skins, factions, and character outfits, portal cosmetics, player card items like your title, banner, and badges, on said player cards, and more. Some of the cooler ones, yeah, shop bundles are definitely there, which is perhaps a bummer, but we'll touch on monetization in a second. For your maps and modes here, you end up having things like Takedown returning, where players have to fully eliminate the enemy team, where respawn timers are shortened with kills or lengthened with deaths, and there's 5 new maps added into that rotation from what there was before. Arena maps of Core and Stadium are now available to play, on top of the 5 available from previous builds, bringing it to 7 total for your modes of like Hot Zone, Domination, and Team Deathmatch. Onslaught sees the addition of 2 additional maps of Drought and Fracture, but Onslaught being that 24-player multi-team and large map modes, 2 of those joining Glacier in the rotation for 3 total. One really cool thing when we talk about maps and modes is the Lab, introduced with the open beta, a map creator that you can take advantage of on all platforms, a creative mode for making maps and even modes, where it supports real-time collaboration with up to 16 players coming together on a project with templates, geometric shapes, props, gameplay objects, and more, where the community-created maps can be shared and actually might be featured by the dev team and put into play, which is pretty cool, meaning that list of maps that you could be playing could be ever expanding. The feature's only in beta right now, so it's going to be expanded upon even more with detailed ongoing plans for post-launch support, but honestly, I think really cool to have in a sort of open beta state as is. Other cool additions, there's some things that if you end up playing and killing devs, there's a dev hunt thing where if you end up killing a dev, you get a dev killer skin where you can get 3 different ones for killing devs from all 3 different factions. There were mentioned mythic cosmetics and upgrades, which admittedly I did not get to see too much of on this, and I'd imagine it's something that we see further into the progression systems here as more and more people get that upgrade currency, but these are cosmetic only upgrades with no gameplay impact or pay to win features. mythic level character and weapon skins have unique reload animations and have that extra little flair to them. And your skins can be upgraded with Proelium, which is earned through the Battle Pass, logins, or the store, which then can make, of course, these cosmetic upgrades with tracer effects, death effects, and even more along with that. Now, we did talk about the Battle Pass. There is a Battle Pass, and there, of course, is cosmetics here with this. The open beta has a mini Battle Pass costing 500 split coins, which is roughly $5. This includes 3 character skins, 3 weapon skins, 1 portal skin, a few emotes, sprays, charms, banners, and titles, and additional bonus split coins and Proelium currency. An interesting tidbit here was that they mentioned this represents a new system of shorter, monthly narrative-based passes instead of seasonal mega passes. And that's something that I can kind of get behind with that. I mean, more frequency and updates, keeping them on their toes more so, perhaps doing live service properly in the arcade shooter genre, but we'll have to wait and see. Right now, it is something that this is just a smaller, I think like, what, 5 pages or something, if my memory serves me correctly from what I recorded earlier. But that's a brief overview of the game and its offering in the beta state here. But let's talk about the positives and the negatives here of this. Positives starting out there. Overall, I think the game felt really good for my initial time playing, and I'll definitely be playing more. I've been meaning to get back into streaming more and more, especially with a few games coming up that I really want to dive into, so we might fire up a few of those for Splitgate, but the game itself is really smooth when you get to play it. When you get to play it is the thing we'll touch on here in a second, but also there's a learning curve, which for me, that's a positive. Something you can get good at and have fun grinding out if you actually want to dedicate the time to it. Getting quick with portals, getting adjusted to the thrusters, hell, even finding the right sensitivity settings, still not sure I'm there yet, while trying to maneuver your way around through multiple levels of the maps in various modes. It's just a lot to explore fundamentally, which I'm a fan of. It's a new experience in that sense. The gunplay was really smooth, felt really good and rewarding with solid enough aim. Portal play is super cool when you can pull off a good play, and overall it was fun. That's something that I look for the most lately. I feel like so many people nowadays are just consistently subjecting themselves to being miserable for the sake of playing the game that they played 10 years ago when they were growing up or something like that, that if the current iteration isn't doing it for them, they just keep putting themselves in that daily. Seems like more of a hassle at that point, so I'm happy to have something new here and fun that I can work towards, which is definitely nice. But let's talk about the negatives, because of course there is not a game that will not have some quirks, some issues, and some things that I'm not necessarily a fan of. A more minor one to start off here, on PC, if you use controller, at least whenever I'm recording this video, I found that you couldn't quite navigate some of the menu to say, select your playlist or queue up for a match unless you swap to your mouse, which you can still, of course, do that with the controller plugged in. They'll just toggle back and forth at that point, but it's weird that this was something that didn't allow the controller to go down and select those couple of things. An integral part to that, of course. But next, another big thing here that I think was a negative for me overall, but I'm probably going to ignore it a lot because it doesn't necessarily impact your day-to-day gameplay experience, is monetization. This is always a touchy subject, especially amongst free-to-play games. I do think that Splitgate does have a nice base and then which they can expand upon this in the future for earnable things. Big fan of the challenge system and how you progress the battle pass. Would like to see more worthwhile things in the battle pass, but hey, it's a starting point. There's time to improve. However, one thing that was a bit wild to me was the amount of things in the beta already for sale and the pricing of which those things were in the store. Wholly understand that we're going to have to see monetization in the store being pushed. It's a free-to-play game, got to pay the studio bills and the dev team somehow. That's just the nature of the beast and the sort of industry around free-to-play. But it's to the point where you have some singular weapon skins that, yeah, do have variants across the different factions. For assault rifle skins, like you get 3 of those, but basically one skin with somewhat minor design distinctions that will cost you $12 or so for a singular weapon skin. It's not a bundle, but rather one skin for your 3 different rifles or something. So they start to get pricey. And if that's the baseline here, that kind of sets a little worrisome precedent, I think. While I'm not one to really care too much for monetization and buying skins, from an outside perspective, I'd be curious what that sort of balance is that was struck internally. I kind of always think that if you sell things for cheaper, you're going to end up selling more quantity over that sort of price point versus less sales at a higher price point. But I mean, maybe that's a calculation that's already been made and proves my thinking is inadequate. I don't know. It's just a concern that I have for the game and the future of how it handles its cosmetics. And the final thing that I'm a little bit worried about here is longevity. I feel like for a lot of players, it may not necessarily have the most staying power of other titles, which is entirely fine, but obviously wanting the game to succeed, you want that to have the it factor. By all accounts, it looks good, feels good, sounds good, and in Unreal Engine, it is something that's kind of par for the course. But at the same time, those things that make it feel good, look good, and all that kind of stuff, it may come across as generic because that's kind of the industry standard for just the bar for a lot of games. Splitgate 1 had a very loyal fan base, so I have absolutely no doubt that this will be something that succeeds in the realms of its core audience, though I will say that with some of the design decisions made from Splitgate 1 to change to Splitgate 2, it did upset a little bit of that player base, but I'm hoping that this continues to grow the audience to see the game in what it can be in the future. My personal hopes is that we also see in 1.0 a bit more to do, more to organically unlock and incentivize play in a meaningful way. That longevity is something that players want to keep coming back for a lot of things to actually do. Like they sit down and they're like, okay, today I can do this, this, and this. Tomorrow I can do that, that, and that. If that makes sense, I don't know. But that said, that is the beta, what comes with it, what I feel about it. But if you want to try it out, I guess the big question is, how long does it last? So Splitgate is doing something interesting with this open beta. It's live right now, but in perpetuity, meaning that it's going to be live all the way up until its 1.0 release and that full launch. I do have some personal concerns from a marketing perspective on how that works, like how you don't just lose out on a wave of hype for a launch if people are already playing it, but as a player, that's pretty cool, and I'm here for that. One cool thing that was also confirmed a few times by devs over on their subreddit is that this progression that you make during the open beta will not be reset come 1.0 in that full launch, something that is kind of unheard of for a lot of different games in a beta state. Like if you look at a Call of Duty beta, nothing that you do in that beta ever transfers over to its full launch. So for this to be something that you kind of get ahead of the curve here, perhaps, you can already grind it out and then jump right in with everything upgraded if you want in the 1.0 release. I am curious to see when this sort of 1.0 launch will be because no time has been specified just yet, but the battle pass for the beta does say, as of recording this, 2 weeks to go. So while not specified, that might be a little bit of a hint for perhaps assuming that time isn't a placeholder, and we'll get adjusted in the future, that maybe that's a good way to look at that. But hey, that is the Splitgate 2 open beta in a nutshell. If you want to check it out, again, make sure to check the link in the description below to go exactly where you need to learn more and find your download. But for now, that's what we're going to call it. So let me know your thoughts down below. You guys looking to try out Splitgate 2? Not so much. Whatever the case, feel free to let me know. If you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing recording all things, all kinds of FPS content. I'd love to have in the community. For now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. Take care and peace.